Hey, how's it going, everyone? So I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving and all. Mine was pretty good. It's always good to kind of hang out with family and stuff. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about today. And before I move on, I know I have a little bit of a mess, with my poor GI Joes. I haven't really been able to kind of fix it, but you guys know I like to make my setup a little bit more neater, but just bear with me. Especially with what I found out about last night. Literally, I think this was at like maybe 1 or 2 in the morning or so. So remember when there was talks about like the next Godzilla film, obviously. So the next one coming out next year, not counting Godzilla minus one, not counting that one, but of course we're counting the next one based on the MonsterVerse. It's called Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. So the only sort of information that we got about it so far is that obviously it seems like a new threat has pretty much rise to the occasion, and it looks like it's going to be some sort of like all out war. Either Godzilla and Kong are going to team up together or there's going to be some kind of war going on. It's really hard to say, but what we do know for sure is that there's supposed to be some kind of new villain and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff. So obviously, when you have a pretty big film like that coming out next year, companies are always gonna be pumping out toys. So of course, with Playmates being of no exception, they've been like killing it with a lot of their Godzilla toys for the past couple of years, and it's like they're a lot more better than like what most people say they are. Honestly, they're like what a Godzilla toy should be. Whenever you come with like you come with the figure, you come with a piece of a building or a little vehicle. I mean, come on, how that's fun. So I'm glad that Playmates had decided to continue with that tradition. So it makes sense that they're going to be making, of course, new toys based on the new film. But there was a catch. So there were leaks online showing that we're supposed to be getting like this new version of Godzilla and all that, and for the most part, a lot of that turned out to, of course, be fake. A lot of the pictures were very obviously just kind of edited, and it was like no way, it was very obviously faked, But I want to talk about it anyway, just to, I guess, kind of sort of clear it up a little bit. Now we actually do have some actual confirmation, and this is actually a legit real toy. So I went everywhere too this morning. I mean, like even like when I was on campus, I was like on my free time, I was like, okay, I want to look it up. I want to make sure this new toy, right? I want to make sure, is it real? You know what I mean? And it's like honestly, there's definitely plenty of sources for sure, and this is of course confirmed. Of course, the figure that I'm talking about specifically is the evolved Godzilla, or should I say, giant evolved Godzilla. I'm gonna put the picture right here just to kind of show you guys, and it's like I have so many questions, obviously, but before we kind of continue with that, I'll explain a little bit towards the history with the toy line because there is a little bit of sort of a complicated history with it. So obviously, Godzilla versus Kong, was originally supposed to come out in 2020, and of course the toy line, but of course due to the pandemic and all that delaying everything, even some of the toys during like maybe the second or third waves, of course, got delayed, and obviously, the figures became way more popular than anticipated, and then the next thing you know, Playmates had decided to expand their toy line and then eventually turn it into the MonsterVerse toy line. So just to get an idea of what I mean by that, so for I can't really say future figures now, but for the most part, they started to look a little bit like this with the MonsterVerse logo on the side. This is just to show you an example. I still got the Titan Tech box. I do plan on throwing it away, but I do want to review the figure first, at least somewhere in the future before I really do that, just to kind of get that out of the way. So for sure, definitely, when the toys and the movies, all that start to come out, I'm gonna be covering that like crazy. So of course, like I say, this toy line became like way, way too popular really quick. So of course it makes sense that Playmates would like to continue it, despite them no longer working on their Toho series, which is kind of disappointing, but at least we got what we got now. But again, it just raises a lot of questions about like what's going on because it's very obvious that this seems very, very spoiler heavy. I don't think we're really even supposed to know about it. I mean, when I discovered it, the first thing I saw on Instagram was spoiler talk or no, spoiler alert, something like that. And I kept swiping and swiping, and it's like, oh, look at that. Finally, a new toy, a new action figure based on Godzilla X Kong. So that's great, right? And remember, I think maybe a month ago or so, I'm honestly not sure. There was Toy Fair, not Toy Fair. I think it was, or Comic Con. I lost track at this point. I really, really don't know. Covering the news about like new toys coming out next year. Of course, we're talking like every toy line. I talked a little bit about NECA toys. I talked Marvel Legends a little bit as well to a certain extent. Uh, Originally, Ninja Turtles. That was the biggest one that I was covering because it was revealed that Team Mutant Mayhem is not only going to get a sequel, it's going to get a video game and a TV series starting next year, and they're going to be making toys based off of that TV series. As for Godzilla and Kong, unfortunately, for the most part, it seems like that it was confirmed that the studio Legendary, Pictures or whatever, well, Legendary, whatever they're called. I do apologize. I've been like deeply tired. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but pretty much Playmates could not reveal anything at all. They cannot reveal any new figures and all that. I'm assuming it's probably because of something very spoiler heavy, and because apparently the trailer is actually coming out in a week or so. I'm assuming maybe it makes sense as to why this new figure just got teased yesterday. So as you can see just by looking at the design, it's basically like Godzilla as we've seen him throughout the Monsterverse, but he's looking a little different. You'll notice that they call him evolved, and it's like, okay, what's happening to him? Now it makes you want to know what's been going on, because he's been going through a lot of crazy stuff for the past couple of films, especially if you remember King of the Monsters back in 2019, where he got more radiation pretty much, and he pretty much exploded, killing King Ghidorah in the process. And as we all know, Godzilla ended up being fine. Although, yeah, I would argue he did cheat it a little bit because he did got the help of Mothra. But then again, especially when it comes to the next film, Godzilla vs. Kong, technically, yes, Godzilla was the winner, but then literally after that, Godzilla was getting his ass kicked by Mecha Godzilla, and if Kong did not step in, Godzilla would be dead. So I was like, no, you don't deserve the crown at that point. Come on, you pussied out on that. So kind of makes you wonder what's gonna happen to him now, because you'll notice that his spines, the dorsal fins or whatever you call those, not only are they like a really really bright pink or red, but they kind of give the impression of crystals, which reminds me a little bit of Space Godzilla. So I kind of wonder if they're going to be doing some weird stuff with it, because we've have heard a little bit of rumors, especially when it comes to test audience. Listen, I'm just gonna say, movie critics, they're just gonna downright say that it's not gonna be a good film. Movie critics never liked Godzilla movies to begin with, and they'll come up with the most dumbest, stupidest examples for why some of these movies are not as great as some people say they are. And it's not because we're Godzilla fans and all that. It's just because the last couple of films, they're basically like fun giant monster movies with an interesting plot where the monsters are basically, kind of rising and all that, and it's supposed to be some sort of takeover. And then we got that idea with Godzilla vs. Kong with the Hollow Earth, where Kong basically discovered a land full of monsters. So we can only imagine that in this new film, that will definitely be more explored and expanded upon. And that's not even counting the new Monarch TV show that came out, which is on Apple TV Plus, which still pisses me off, but that's okay. Okay, all right, But I'm just saying. And honestly, I try to look everywhere too with this. I wanted to make sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is real. It is real for sure. This is not fake. This is not something somebody made up. This is, for the most part, this is definitely a 100% confirmed figure. So this is not some sort of weird fan-made stuff that somebody made. And the fact that this is a giant figure, meaning that this is going to be an 11 or 12-inch figure, because during the Godzilla vs. Kong and Monsterverse toy line, that's what they called their giant figures. They're 11-inch. They call them giants. So it's like, okay, so we're definitely gonna get a whole variety of that same version of the evolved Godzilla. I mean, think about it. There was even another picture that was either on Reddit or DeviantArt, which I'm gonna put right here, kind of showing off that not only is his tail really long, but you'll also notice he's looking a little skinny. I mean, it's like, are you okay? You're getting your protein? Because it's like, I'm getting like a 1998 Godzilla vibes too, because that version wasn't really like the big giant dinosaur, but he was an iguana in that reincarnation. You get the point. But it was so interesting to kind of see that, so I'm like, I wonder why they did that. Is it because he's been hiding all those years, or like is his body changing? Can you imagine that? Makes you very very curious, and the figure for the most part looks really cool. What got me a little bit suspicious at first was you'll notice that in the actual figure, he actually has a little spike on his elbow, and it's painted to look kind of pink. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, now he's just growing spikes randomly. But then in the other picture that they showed off with with the Reddit or DeviantArt post, they showed off the figure, and you'll notice that that little spike part is not painted. So that's where a little bit of that suspicion kind of comes around. But then you'll also notice that at the bottom corner, they did show like the letters from some sort of account, and it's of course in Asian writing. So I will have to assume that this was probably somewhere within production. Maybe someone managed to get their hands on the toys early somehow. These are of course leaked photos. There's no confirmation as to where they really came from. Of course, if more news comes out, I'm gonna cover it. Even if I end up making this video late at night, because I've been trying to push this out the whole day, but I had like no energy, honestly. But it's so cool to finally see them continue with the toy line and all that. And mind you, even with Rodan too. So this is the Battle Titan Tech Rodan, and honestly, the figure is so nice. I can't really force myself to really put the tech parts in, even though I kind of want to. So you'll know that they'll definitely do good with this toy line for sure. They've improved. If that's definitely one of the best things about Playmates is that whenever they made some figures, whether it's from the Ninja Turtles or so, that always seem to kind of mess up somehow, they always manage to, make a nice, decent comeback. So it's great to see that we're finally getting some news, especially considering that, of course, recently we were told that we weren't really going to see anything for a long time. We are heading towards December. It's gonna be January and pretty soon. The next thing you know, so yeah, you never know. Maybe these toys they'll hit store shelves when you least expect it. I mean, the new Marvel Legends, Spider-Man No Way Home figures aren't. Isn't that supposed to come out next year? They're hitting stores now. I want to get that freaking Tobey Maguire Spider-Man really badly. I really want to get all of them, honestly. But it's like, we'll see. And of course, I'm trying to fix out everything with my schedule. So obviously, Wednesday there will be another toy review. I don't know of what. It's gonna be either a Godzilla figure. Well, soon in the future. But either an Ultraman figure or maybe a Ninja Turtles figure. I'm not too sure. I'm just trying to kind of split up and make some planning because I want to do a lot of changes, and especially for next year. And of course, implement more gaming. That's kind of my plans right now. So I'll definitely discuss those somewhere in the week. I don't know when because it's we're getting towards finals now, and the holiday season with my job. So it's like just hang tight. And until then, thank you guys for watching. I'll leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and that's about it.